My wife said, "You're nothing without me," so I left her with nothing. 20 years. That's how long I gave her. 2 decades of my life. My sweat and my sanity poured into a black hole of a marriage. She called me useless. She told everyone I was the villain. She spent my money while whispering secrets to other men on her phone. She thought she had me trapped in a cage of mortgage payments and guilt. But last Tuesday, she went to buy a latte, and the card declined. That was the moment she realized. The bank of husband was permanently closed, and the fallout? It was glorious. If you've ever felt trapped in a relationship where your kindness is viewed as weakness, or if you've ever wanted to see a narcissist finally face reality, you're in the right place. This is a long story of betrayal, but an even longer story of justice. Do me a favor, hit that like button if you believe in standing up for yourself. It really helps the channel. Now, let's get into the nightmare. I'm 41 years old. On paper, I'm a successful man. I have a stable job earning £40,000 a year. I have a house with my name on the deed. I have 2 beautiful children who are the light of my life. But for the last 6 years of my marriage, and arguably the 14 years of dating before that I have been a prisoner in my own home. My wife, let's call her Sarah, is 39. She earns about half of what I do, $20,000 a year. Now, let me be clear. I don't care about the income gap. I never did. When you love someone, you build a life together. You throw everything into the pot, and you stir it up. But the problem wasn't the math. The problem was the mindset. For 20 years, the dynamic has been identical. I am the provider, the safety net, and the punching bag. Sarah is the star of her own movie, and everyone else, me, the kids, her family, are just supporting cast members who exist to make her look good. It started slowly, as these things always do. We've been together since we were basically kids. When you grow up with someone, you don't notice the toxicity seeping in. It's like a frog in boiling water. You just adjust to the heat until your skin is falling off. Last year, the water started boiling. The tension in the house became physical. You know that feeling when you turn the key in your front door and your stomach drops? That instant spike of cortisol? That was my life every single day at 5:30 p.m. I'd walk in, tired from a long shift, hoping for a hello, maybe a smile. Instead, I walked into a courtroom where I was already guilty. "You didn't put the bins out right? Why are you breathing so loud? My friends think you're holding me back." She is a textbook narcissist, and I don't use that word lightly. I mean the clinical lack of empathy, the grandiosity, the gaslighting. If I was upset, I was too sensitive. If she was upset, it was because I was abusive. She is a master of the Darvo technique: deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. She painted me as the villain to everyone. We'd go to BBQs with her friends, and I'd see the way they looked at me. Cold, suspicious. I found out later she'd been telling them that I controlled her finances, that I didn't let her go out, that I was emotionally distant. The irony, I was the one begging her to talk to me. I was the one paying the mortgage, the bills, the car payments, the groceries, while her £20,000 seemed to vanish into thin air: new clothes, salon appointments, lunches with friends. The worst part wasn't the money. It was the history of betrayal that I had swept under the rug. 15 years ago, we hadn't been married yet, but we were 5 years deep. We were living together. I remember the night vividly. She had come home drunk from a work party, stumbling, giggling at nothing. She passed out on the sofa with her phone clutched in her hand like a lifeline. I'm not proud of this, but I had a gut feeling, a sickness in my chest. I took the phone. I scrolled, and my world shattered. There were messages with a coworker, not just friendly banter, flirtatious, expletious, explicit. "I miss your hands. He's boring compared to you. Can't wait for Monday." I sat there in the dark, the blue light of the screen illuminating her sleeping face, feeling like I was going to throw up. I read them over and over, searing them into my memory. When I confronted her the next morning, hungover and defensive, she didn't cry, she didn't apologize, she attacked. "You violated my privacy." She screamed. "You're paranoid. Nothing physical happened. We were just joking. You're so insecure." And because I was 26 weak and terrified of being alone, I let her convince me that I was the bad guy for looking. I swallowed the poison. I stayed. I married her. I had children with her. But trust is like a mirror. Once it's broken, you can glue it back together, but you can still see the cracks in the reflection. And for the last year, those cracks have been turning into gaping holes. She's glued to her phone again. She takes it into the bathroom. She sleeps with it under her pillow. If I walk into the room, she flips it face down. She changed her passcode. I'm 41 now. I'm not 26. I know what that behavior means. I suspect she cheated on me last year. I can't prove it yet. Not like before. But the gut feeling is back. That sickness in the chest. The arguments escalated. She started telling me she was unhappy, that I wasn't ambitious enough, despite me paying for the roof over her head. She started talking about how she deserved more. The breaking point wasn't a scream. It was a whisper. I was sitting at the kitchen table 3 months ago, looking at our joint bank account. I noticed a withdrawal for a hotel booking in a city 2 hours away. A Tuesday night. I asked her about it. "Oh, that," she said. not even looking up from her Instagram. I needed a break. I went for a spa night with Jessica. I know Jessica. Jessica was in Mexico that week. I saw the photos on Facebook. I didn't say anything. I didn't scream. I just looked at her. This woman I had devoted half my life to, and I realized there was nothing there for me anymore. No love, no respect. Just a leech attached to my wallet, draining me dry while rewriting history to make herself the martyr. I looked at the mortgage papers, both our names. I looked at the joint account. My salary goes in, her spending comes out. I realized I was funding my own abuse. I went to bed that night, lying next to a stranger, and for the first time in 20 years, I didn't pray for things to get better. I prayed for the strength to burn it all down. Deciding to leave is easy. Figuring out how to do it without losing everything is the hard part. The weeks following that realization were pure torture. This is the part nobody tells you about, the fake it till you make it phase. I had to pretend everything was normal. I had to eat dinner across from her, listen to her talk about her day, and nod along while my brain was screaming liar. I started losing sleep. I'd wake up at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, doing math in my head. If I leave, what happens to the house? Can I afford rent and child support? Will she turn the kids against me? She sensed something was off. Narcissists have a radar for when their supply is pulling away. She ramped up the manipulation. She started being oddly nice for a day or two. Love bombing, making my favorite dinner, touching my arm. It almost worked. You start to doubt yourself. Maybe I'm crazy, I thought. Maybe she really did go with a different friend, not Jessica. Maybe I'm the problem. But then the mask would slip. 2 days after Nice Wife appeared, she exploded because I bought the wrong brand of milk. She called me pathetic in front of our 12-year-old daughter. I saw my daughter's eyes drop to the floor, the shame radiating off her, and that hardened my resolve like concrete. I wasn't just saving myself anymore. I had to show my kids that this isn't what love looks like. I decided I needed information before I made a move. I needed to know exactly how screwed I was. I took a half day off work, told Sarah I had a dentist appointment and went to see a solicitor. I paid £250 for an hour of consultation, and it was the best money I ever spent. I sat in that leather chair, sweating, and poured it all out. The cheating, suspicion, the income disparity, the house. What's the cutoff point? I asked him, my voice shaking. When is it too late? The solicitor, a gray-haired man who looked like he'd seen 1,000 broken men before me, leaned forward. The cutoff point was yesterday, he said. But today's a good second choice. He explained the reality. The divorce would cost thousands. Since she earns significantly less and we have kids, she would likely argue for spousal maintenance. She would almost certainly try to keep the house until the kids were 18. However, he said, tapping his pen on the desk, her conduct matters, but finances matter more. You need to protect your income immediately. Why are you putting your salary into a joint account she controls? Because we're married, I said stupidly. You're barely married, he corrected. You're roommates with a financial parasitic arrangement. Stop it. Today, I walked out of that office into the gray English rain, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Agency. Control. But the fear was still there. If I cut her off, the explosion would be nuclear. She would weaponize the kids. She would tell the world I abandoned her. I went home that evening, and she was in a mood. You're late? She snapped. And why do you smell like ... old office? Work? I mumbled. You're useless, she muttered, turning back to the TV. I need you to transfer $500 to my personal account. I have to pay the credit card off. What did you buy? I asked. She spun around, eyes flashing. Don't you start indicting me? I work too. I contribute. You think you're so special because you earn a little bit more? Double, I thought. I earn double. Just transfer it, she hissed. I did it. I transferred the money. It was the last time I would ever do it. As I pressed confirm on my banking app, I felt a strange sense of calm. It was a severance package. That night, she went out. Meeting the girls, she said. She put on that perfume she never wears for me. She wore the dress I like, the one she says is uncomfortable. I waited until she left. Then, I didn't go to sleep. I went to the kitchen table and opened my laptop. It was time to stop being the victim. It was time to become the architect of my own life. I logged into our mobile provider's website. Since the account is in my name, I have access to the call logs. I downloaded the last 6 months of data. I cross-referenced the dates. The spa night with Jessica, 3 calls to a number I didn't recognize, all lasting over an hour. In the weeks leading up to it, I googled the number. It didn't come up with a name, but it was a mobile. Then I looked at the bank statement. Really looked at them. The gaslighting wasn't just emotional, it was financial. Coffee shops, clothes, cash withdrawals, hundreds of pounds in cash taken out at ATMs near bars. Meanwhile, I was wearing shoes with holes in the soles because I couldn't afford new ones. I felt the anger rising, hot and blinding, but I pushed it down. Anger makes you sloppy. I needed to be cold. I needed to be a surgeon cutting out a tumor. I opened a new tab on the browser. Starling Bank. Open a personal current account. I started typing my details. Name, address, National insurance number. Do you want to switch your direct debits? No, not yet. I needed this to be a sniper shot, not a machine gun spray. I set up the account. I looked at the sort code and account number. It was beautiful. It was mine. It was a fortress she couldn't breach. Next morning, I went to HR at my company. I filled out the form to change my payroll destination. Effective immediately, the HR lady asked. Yes, I said. Effective immediately. The clock was ticking. My payday was in 5 days. In 5 days. The joint account, the one she treated as her personal piggy bank, would not receive the usual £2,400 monthly injection. It would receive nothing. I went home and played the part. I cooked dinner. I listened to her complain about her boss. I endured her rolling her eyes at me. Inside, I was screaming, just you wait. But doubt crept in again on day 3. I looked at my kids. My son is 8, my daughter 12. Am I destroying their lives? I asked myself. If I can't pay the mortgage on the family home because I'm paying rent somewhere else, they might lose the house. The guilt was heavy. It sat on my chest like an anvil. I almost canceled the payroll change. I almost went back to being the doormat because it was safer for them. But then, I heard her on the phone in the other room. The door was cracked open. God, he's so boring. I don't know how much longer I can do this. I'm just waiting until he gets his bonus in April. Then maybe I'll look at flats. She was planning to leave me. She was just milking me for the bonus first. The guilt evaporated. The anvil was gone. It was replaced by pure, unadulterated resolve. You want a bonus? Here's your bonus. The days leading up to payday were surreal. It felt like I was an undercover agent in my own life. I started moving small things out of the house. Important documents, my passport, birth certificate, the kids' birth certificates. Sai smuggled them out of my laptop bag and locked them in my desk at work. I took photos of every room in the house, the condition of the furniture, the appliances. If she was going to burn the house down out of spite, I needed proof of how it looked before. I also did something petty, but necessary. I removed my name from the joint account. I called the bank. I want to change the mandate to either to sign, but I want to disassociate myself from future liabilities if possible, or at least freeze the overdraft. I told them it was complicated, but I managed to get my name off the main spending pot, leaving it effectively as her account that I had just been dumping money into. Friday came, payday. Usually, at 9 a.m., my phone pings with a notification, salary received. Then, about an hour later, I get a text from Sarah, usually a list of demands or a "we need milk." This Friday, my phone pinged. £2,450 received into account ending 8,841. My new account? My secret account. I stared at the number. It was the first time in 20 years I had full control of the fruit of my labor. I felt lightheaded. I went to work. I sat at my desk, staring at the clock. 10 a.m., 11 a.m., 12 p.m. Silence. She must not have checked yet. She assumes the money is there. She has direct debits set up for her gym, her phone, her credit cards. They usually go out on the 1st, which was Monday. She probably wouldn't notice until she tried to buy something. I left work at 5 p.m. My heart was hammering against my ribs. This was it. The confrontation. I pulled into the driveway. Her car was there. I walked to the front door. I took a deep breath. Showtime. I walked in. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I walked into the kitchen. She was sitting at the table, her phone in her hand. She looked up, and her face was a mask of confusion and simmering rage. "Where is it?" she asked. "No, hello. No, how are you?" "Where is what?" I asked, putting my keys in the bowl. I kept my voice steady, calm. Grey Rock method? Be boring? Be unreactive? The money? She snapped. I checked the app. The mortgage is due on Tuesday. The bills, the balance is £40. Where is your pay? I walked over to the fridge and took out a bottle of water. I took a long, slow sip. I turned to face her. I opened a new account. I said, "My salary goes there now." The silence that followed was deafening. It lasted 5 seconds, but it felt like an hour. Her eyes went wide. Then, they narrowed into slits. "Excuse me?" Her voice went up an octave. "You can't do that. That is our money. How am I supposed to buy groceries? How am I supposed to pay the bills?" "You work," I said simply. "You earn £20,000 a year. You can buy groceries?" "That's my money," she screamed, standing up. The chair scraped violently against the floor. "My money is for my things. Your money is for the house. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked," Netta said, leaning against the counter. "Is why it's not working anymore." She laughed. A cold, mocking laugh. "Oh, is this a midlife crisis? Are you punishing me? You're so pathetic. Put the money back, now before I get angry." "No," I said. She froze. I had never said no like that before. Not in 20 years. "What do you mean? No? I mean, I'm done, Sarah. I'm done funding a lifestyle I'm not allowed to enjoy. I'm done paying for a wife who doesn't respect me. I'm done." I reached into my bag and pulled out a large white envelope. I tossed it onto the table. It slid across the wood and stopped right in front of her. "What is this?" she whispered. "Divorce petition," I said. "I filed it 3 days ago." based on unreasonable behavior. And before you ask, I am not leaving the house. I'm moving into the spare room. This is the matrimonial home, and I have every right to be here with my children. She stared at the envelope like it was a bomb. Then she looked at me. For a second, I saw fear. Real, genuine fear. She realized the safety net was gone. But then, the narcissist took over. The fear turned to pure venom. You think you can do this to me? She hissed. I will destroy you. I'll take the kids. I will take the house. You'll be living in a box under a bridge by the time I'm done with you. Maybe, I said, shrugging, but at least I won't be living with you. I walked past her, up the stairs, and into the spare room. I locked the door. I sat on the single bed, my hands trembling. I expected to feel sad. I expected to feel broken. Instead, I listened to her screaming downstairs, throwing things, slamming cupboards, and I smiled. The weekend following Payday Friday was a study in psychological warfare. I stayed in the spare room, noise-canceling headphones on, reading a book. Downstairs, the atmosphere was toxic. She slammed doors. She aggressively vacuumed the hallway right outside my door at 7 a.m. on Saturday. She made a big show of ordering pizza for herself and the kids, loudly telling them, Daddy doesn't want to eat with us because he's having a tantrum. I didn't bite. I didn't go down and argue. I waited until they were done, went downstairs, made myself a sandwich, and smiled at the kids. Hey guys, I said. How about tomorrow I take you to the cinema? Just us. Their eyes lit up. Can we see the new Marvel movie? Done, I said. Sarah glared at me from the sofa. You're not taking them. It's my weekend. Actually, I said, checking the calendar on the wall, we don't have a custody agreement yet, and since we live in the same house, every day's everyone's day. I'm taking them. She opened her mouth to scream, then closed it. She realized she couldn't stop me without physically restraining me, and that would look bad in court. Sunday came. The cinema trip was great. For the first time in years, I didn't have to worry about checking my phone every 5 minutes for a text asking where I was or why I was taking so long. But the real revenge, the cold, hard reality hit on Monday morning. Monday is when the direct debits try to clear. I was at work, focusing on a spreadsheet, when I got a text from Sarah. Text, the internet is down. Did you change the password? I didn't reply. 10 minutes later, text, Netflix isn't working. 20 minutes later, text, my card declined at the petrol station. Fix it now. I leaned back in my chair and took a sip of coffee. It tasted like victory. I replied, me. The joint account has £40 in it. Use your personal account. Sarah, I don't have enough in there. I have to get to work. You are financially abusing me. I'm calling the police. Me. Police don't handle civil matters. You earn £20,000. Use it. She didn't call the police. She called her mother. I know this because her mother called me 10 minutes later, screaming that I was a monster for leaving her daughter stranded. Barbara, I said calmly, your daughter has a job. She has a car. She has a bank account. If she has spent all her money on clothes and nights out, that is not my problem. I am paying the mortgage and the utilities. I am not paying for her petrol. Barbara hung up. But I knew the seed was planted. They knew Sarah was bad with money. They just didn't know how bad until now. Over the next month, the house of cards collapsed. Without my salary covering the deficit, Sarah's lifestyle hit a brick wall. She couldn't go to the salon. Her roots started showing. She couldn't go out for drinks with the girls 3 times a week. She started bringing packed lunches to work instead of buying 15-pound sushi bowls. The anger in the house shifted. It went from explosive rage to a desperate, simmering panic. Then came the smear campaign. I started getting cold shoulders from mutual friends. One of them, a guy named Dave I'd known for 10 years, finally confronted me at the pub. Look, mate, he said, shifting uncomfortably. Sarah says you've cut her off completely. That you're starving her out. That's a bit rough, isn't it? I didn't get defensive. I pulled out my phone. I opened my banking app and scrolled back 3 months to the joint account history. Dave, I said, look at this. I showed him the list. ZARA, £120. The IVY, £180. SPA, DAY, £250. Cash withdrawal, £100. That was all in 1 week, I said, while I was wearing shoes with holes in the soles. I didn't cut her off. I stopped letting her bleed me dry. Dave looked at the screen, then at me. Bloody hell, he whispered. She told us you controlled every penny. I do now, I said. The truth spreads slower than lies, but it hits harder. Slowly, the villain narrative she tried to spin started to unravel. Her friends noticed she couldn't pay her share at dinners. They noticed the contradictions in her stories. But the final nail in the coffin was the house. The solicitor explained that since I couldn't afford the mortgage and a new place to live, and she certainly couldn't afford the mortgage on her own, the house had to be sold. Sarah fought it tooth and nail. I'm keeping the house for the children. She screamed in mediation. Okay, my solicitor said calmly. The mortgage is £1,200 a month. The bills are £400. Can you show us proof of income that covers that? She sat there, silent. Her £1,400 monthly take-home pay wouldn't even cover the basics, let alone food. Then the house must be sold. The solicitor said, "We put the house on the market 3 weeks ago." The sign went up in the front garden. Watching her face when the for sale sign was hammered into the grass was a moment I will never forget. It was the physical manifestation of her consequences. Her kingdom was being dismantled. And the coworker, the guy she was so secretive about, as soon as the money dried up and the drama ramped up, he vanished. I heard her crying in her room one night. "Why won't you answer me?" she sobbed into the phone. Turns out, affair partners usually like the fun, secret version of you. They don't want the broke, divorcing, single mother version. We are currently in the process of closing the sale. The equity will be split. I'll walk away with enough for a deposit on a small 2-bedroom flat. She'll walk away with the same amount, but with a mountain of credit card debt she tried to hide during the marriage, which my solicitor found. Thank God. The best part? Last weekend, my son asked me, "Dad, are you going to be happy in the new house?" I looked at him, and for the first time in 20 years, the knot in my stomach was gone. "Yes, buddy," I said. "I think I'm going to be really happy." I'm recording this from the spare room, surrounded by boxers. Next week, I move out. The divorce is still ongoing, but the hard part is over. The separation of lives has happened. I want to answer the question I asked at the beginning. What is the cutoff point? The cutoff point isn't when they cheat. It isn't when they scream. The cutoff point is the moment you realize that your pain is their fuel. It's the moment you realize that you are lighting yourself on fire to keep someone else warm, and they are complaining about the smoke. I lost 20 years. I can't get those back, but I saved the next 40. Sarah is currently looking for a rental. She's realized that a £20,000 salary doesn't get you a 4-bedroom house with a garden in this economy. She's going to have to downsize. She's going to have to budget. She's going to have to live in the real world. And honestly, that is the best revenge of all. I didn't have to slash her ties. I didn't have to ruin her reputation publicly. I just removed my support. Gravity did the rest. If you are listening to this, and you are the provider in a thankless relationship, check your accounts, check your self-respect, and if you find a deficit, close the bank. That was the story of how one man reclaimed his life from a financial and emotional vampire. If you enjoyed seeing justice served cold, please destroy that like button. It helps the channel more than you know. And let me know in the comments, do you think he should have left sooner, or did he play it perfectly at the end? Make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on. We have a story coming up next week about a mother-in-law who tried to wear white to the wedding and got red wine instead. You don't want to miss it. Stay strong, stay smart, and don't let anyone spend your life. See you in the next one.